Alrighty, and we are live. How's it going, Mets and overall baseball fans? Thank you guys all so much for chiming in for the latest podcast episode here. I'm Wardy. That is Anthony Recker. That is Joe Serralo, and we have plenty Mets baseball to discuss tonight, a day before they start their homestand against the Washington Nationals. So we're going to be recapping that split against the San Francisco Giants, our biggest takeaways, not only from that series, but a West Coast trip that overall was positive for this Mets team. Then we're going to get into a little bit on the pitching front because this rotation right now has been anything but consistent, and thankfully the offense up until the last couple games in San Fran was really helping things, lessen the blow, if you will, along with some great bullpen and relief there. And then from there, we're going to get into, of course, doing a first edition of our Minutemen, which we're excited to get into. That we'll share once we get to that point, and wrapping things up with not only answering your questions, but doing a sneak peek on this homestand that begins again against the Nationals. So appreciate everyone watching live or on replay. Happy to have you guys here, but more than anything, Rec, Joe, happy to have you guys here. How you guys doing tonight?
Doing great, man. I mean, I think I speak for all of us when I say got the Devils-Rangers game on. I know I'm in the minority rooting for the Devils right now, but we got playoff hockey. The Mets look pretty damn good coming off a 7-3 Oppo Coast trip. Nothing to complain about. But naturally, we will do some complaining.
Oh, for sure.
I mean, what else will we do?
Francisco
that's our
Alvarez
job.
is still on the team, so we got to complain about something.
You knew the perfect line to say to grab my gears. Like what? 30 seconds.
Dude just hit a homer. I mean, come on, Joe.
Oh, congrats on a slider that's softer than my slider.
I'll have you know.
73, like,
I'll have you know that
middle,
that 73
high.
slider up top was the first time in over a year that a right-handed batter hit a home run off of Tyler Rogers. So I think that
was a
important.
softball pitch from a 60-foot mound.
Okay. I'd like to see you hit it.
Fair.
That's fine.
Fair.
That's fine.
It's fair. I think that's fair.
Bases
It's like Sergio Romo-esque.
Yeah. Fitting that you say that
on
in the Giants. Yeah, we know. He hasn't looked good.
Easy to pop one out when there's no one on, but 6 guys left on base.
Hey, it tied the ball game. It wasn't like it was a bad bomb.
You know,
I'll take it.
And analytic guys will say it's all chance. RBIs are all chance.
I hate it.
Eventually, you keep getting the opportunities, and eventually you're just gonna drive them in.
Or you're gonna ground into a double play or strike out.
Yeah, I don't really agree with those people. I was just letting you know.
Yeah, those are the people that, and I know the group chat. I was going off about this the other day because Tyler, you threw a stat in there I never even heard of. What was it called? Sierra Mist. I was like, these people
SIE,
come up with
right.
these random acronyms and analytics, and it's like, no, go up there with a little bit of pressure on you and do the damn job. Like, to me, in RBI, they're like, oh, it's all chance, it's all guys in front of you. No. There's pressure when you're up with guys on base. And how you respond to that pressure, to me, impacts how I think of you as an athlete. And
sure,
Alvarez has not responded to any pressure thus far. I know it's early, but so far, forget just this season, since he's been in the big leagues, did nothing against the Braves or Padres last September, last October.
He was rushed, yes.
Great against the Nationals when the Mets had already lost the division. Has done nothing this year in important spots. Yesterday, comes up twice, bases juice, strikeout, double play, comes up bases empty, home run. I haven't seen any clutch factor out of Alvarez. And it's early. I'm joking when I say, I'm mad he's still on the team, but a little concerned.
Are you? Are you, though?
Yeah.
Are you, though? You were kind of blowing us up. You were kind of blowing us up yesterday during the game.
It was actually ridiculous, the shit you were saying.
I also had a good chunk of change on the Mets in that one. But, right now, bases loaded. I'd rather have Omar Narvaez up there. I mean,
I'm not disagreeing there. No, he would be there. But he would be there, though.
Fight off better.
But Narvaez would be there if he wasn't hurt right now.
Yeah, but I'm saying, even right now, I trust Tomas Nido to put together a good at-bat.
No, even I don't with the way he's swinging. He's no better than Alvarez right now. Even I struggle to agree on that one. Last year, yes, Narvaez was a scoring position. So far this year, my God, Nido, he's not looking really bad.
I'm not a Narvaez guy, so I'm gonna go with Alvarez here on that whole thing. And Nito's my boy. I like Nito. I
like Nito too. He's just had a really less than ideal start to the year.
It's it happens. That's all I'll say.
Any of our catchers offensively. I love Nito too. Love him defensively. Last year, great with runners in scoring position. I don't like Narvaez either, but I trust him more with the bases loaded and no outs or one out right now than Alvarez.
Well, of course, yeah, and I think that's valid.
That swing is made for 73-mile-per-hour pitches. That's what it's made for. It's so long and loopy.
He's gonna figure it out.
Okay,
trust me. I
want a tight, quick, Wrecker type swing, bat speed.
Come on, Joe. Come on.
Here, this is a final thing.
10 years ago, I was like, fucking Anthony Wrecker, bases loaded, double play.
100%. 100%. Although, the one thing I did not do, I didn't ground into double plays.
Because you got that 50th percentile sprint speed, damn it.
No, it's because I either struck out, which happened a lot, like 50% of the time, or I hit a fly ball or a homer or something. I didn't hit a lot of ground balls.
Yeah, but you got lift under it. Alvarez, he ground ball machine.
Yeah. This is the final thing that I want to share on the Alvarez front, because Joe, while your frustration was more based on, obviously having some skin in the game with the Mets, there are fans out there right now that are genuinely writing him off. Somehow, some way, you're already having those fair share of Twitter heads that are writing off a 21-year-old prospect who's only in the bigs right now, again, because of Narvaez's injury. And remind me of the amount of 21-year-old catchers in the bigs right now as is. He's been the top prospect in baseball for the past year plus. I mean, I think a good example is Alvarez has been brought to this point already because of his bat to ball skills, and it's hilarious how his framing has been overall solid when looking at the numbers to start his young career, but the offensive production has been. He's been pressing like a mofo every single time he's out there. But you see Adley Rutschman. I think this is a great example. Look at what he's already doing. He's already deemed by many as one of the top catchers in the game right now, and he is a solid 3 to 4 years older than Alvarez. So just imagine what Alvarez can potentially be like once he's at that age.
Well, and he got to the same. Adley got off to the same start for the first month last year too. He was terrible for a month. He was really bad,
and then he just took over. He just was a
madman.
Where'd he
go to college, by the way? Is he a Pac-12 kid?
I don't know.
I don't even know. Oregon State?
Right? Was he one of those? Yeah, was he a Beaver?
That's my guess. I'm not 100% sure. It's my guess.
We love Beaver on this show. Beaver-friendly show.
All right. Now let's talk
it depends, Joe. Sometimes you kind of like the taste of other things too. So.
Yeah. It depends on the night here with Joe
Jumping into that segment early, jeez.
Hey!
Let's talk about this West Coast trip, shall we? Because obviously we just saw the Mets split in San Francisco. They got off to a really nice start there in San Fran, winning their first 2 games. Headline that we're going to talk a little bit more later in the show, that being a Joey Lucchesi, Joey Fuego, Mr. Churv. My God, who would have thought that the Mets 9-10 starter to begin the 2023 year came out with their best starts so far out of all starters to begin the season? Even with JV out, it's still insane what Lucchesi did there. But the Mets offense was certainly there throughout the first 2 games. And then the last 2, they dropped the last 2. Game 3 was obviously a stinker. David Peterson, again, another really, really rough start. However, as we then get into last night's game, that one was a frustrating one, losing by a final score of 5-4. Tyler McGill certainly didn't have his best stuff. He gave up 4 over 4, if I'm not mistaken, but was still in the ball game for the Mets here, and they just could not get enough offense. And to your point, Joe, yes, that's where you need to execute with runners in scoring position. And the first opportunity the Mets had with less than 2 outs, Alvarez ground into it, and he netting double play. So you're left wondering what could have been should Alvarez have produced there. So I want to know, Rex, starting with you, what is your thoughts here on the Mets splitting the San Fran series? What did you like? What did you maybe not like? And then overall, what is your reaction to the Mets going 7-3, which is a very strong West Coast trip, all things considered?
Yeah, a little disappointed in the last game. I thought McGill didn't have his best stuff. Offense didn't really show up for that last game, unfortunately. It happens. It's baseball. I thought they were going to take 3 out of 4, especially after they took the first 2. It seemed like, like they had a great West Coast run, really. That's what it comes down to. Losing 1 game between A's and Dodgers and then coming into San Francisco. Again, thought they'd take 3 out of 4. I thought they'd go 8-2. But you can't be disappointed in a 7-3 road trip, period, let alone West Coast road trip. So just look, right now I would say that, and it's what I've been saying for the last couple of weeks, this team is finding ways to win games. They're finding ways to get it done in crunch time often, and they're not playing their best baseball. So although you can get frustrated that they're not playing great baseball, there's something good to take out of that. The fact that this team is playing as well as they are, winning ball games, they're on pace for over 100 wins, and yet they're not playing as well as they can. Their opposition hasn't been great so far. We know that, and that's okay. Take care of this right now and start playing better when you're playing those teams, and I think they'll be fine. So realistically, to me, you're getting really good production out of the guys that you want to see, that we hoped we would see. Pete, Lindor, Nimmo. Offensively, we need to see some other guys step up because those guys are not going to be able to do it for 162 games all year. They're going to go through their ups and downs too. So we'll just have to see who kind of steps up in those situations. And then for me, look, the rotation's getting a little bit thin. The bullpen, I think at times in big pressure spots, those one or two guys at the back end have been good. But outside of that, I feel like they've struggled to find consistency. And so that's something that, they're going to be searching for as well. Or at least maybe trying to get some help with at some point. Hopefully they can start to get guys healthy, really, is what it comes down to. And then we'll start to see what this pitching staff is supposed to look like.
Joe?
It's funny, Rick, because you mentioned that bullpen. Ottavino and David Robertson, neither of them were used that entire San Francisco series. Our bullpen gave us 13 innings of one-run ball in that series. So the bullpen actually, I thought, performed excellently. Was a little confused as to why Robertson wasn't used yesterday, especially with such a lefty-heavy lineup that San Fran ran out there. Kind of thought they'd go Brooks Raley to Robertson because even though Robertson's a righty, obviously his career split's more effective against lefties. So
and another day off today, by the way. So
right.
It's not like
I thought we'd see Raley and Robertson. I kind of thought Raley, even though I was texting the group chat and I'll own this, I'm not the biggest Brooks Raley fan. I thought he would have been stretched out for possibly a second inning, though. I think he only had like 15 pitches, day off today, hadn't been used much in that series leading up to yesterday. I would have liked to see him and Robertson both go out there and no matter how many innings it was, give us maybe 30 or so pitches because of the off day today. But bullpen's actually been overperforming. Starting rotation's been underperforming. And it's funny how you mentioned,
Joe, time out. Unplug and replug.
That was crazy. That came out of nowhere.
Yeah. It's always just like bam. Like a lot of times there's not even build up. It just shocking you right away. All right. You there, Joe?
Are we good?
Yes.
Am I back?
Yes.
Yeah, you're good.
Okay. So it's funny, Rec, how you mentioned like the expectations and how they change. You can't be mad with a 7-3 road trip, right?
Yeah.
But when you start 7-1 and you're playing one of the worst teams in the National League, really wanted 8-2. The David Peterson game, look, Logan Webb, I believe, even though every game is its own individual entity, I believe that sometimes guys are due. Logan Webb starting the year 0-4, he was due to get in the win column.
Yeah.
And David Peterson's been really inconsistent. I kind of saw us dropping that game Saturday, but I really thought Sunday, McGill's only loss this year was essentially 2 bad at-bats to J.D. Martinez. Really thought McGill would get us back in the win column. Stripling had nothing, and the Mets just couldn't capitalize. Credit to Gabe Kapler for getting Stripling out of there before the Mets really laid some damage on him. It was just, I kind of thought we got outmanaged a bit, and that doesn't happen often with Buck. But some shaky bullpen decisions against that, lefty-heavy lineup. Kapler he made the right move getting Stripling out of there, and his bullpen, his matchup choices, they dominated us. Our lineup, I know we scored 4 runs, but we looked really flat. And, 6 to 9 guys were kind of automatic outs. So, yeah, I wasn't too impressed with how that road trip ended. Would have been nice to go 8-2 and head back on a winning note.
Yeah, how that trip ended reminded me, separately of heading into the 2022 season. If you would have told any Mets fan that the Mets would have at least 100 wins, every fan would be ecstatic, right? But then when you saw how they ended the season heading into the postseason, the expectations changed. To a far lesser degree, that's how I felt in this West Coast trip. Exactly what you said, Joe. It would have been great if the Mets went at least 8-2, all things considered, on this matchup. Especially when you looked at the former Mets, aside from that Game 3 where everyone was hitting, we got to see prime JD double play Davis, with Conforto being Conforto with that one botched ball. Even though that I love Michael, and again, that was just a fluke play. You don't expect that to happen much. There were things
Delta Breeze, baby. That thing's a bitch.
Yeah.
Ended my outfield career before it started.
See, there you go. So, there were plenty of things that were going in the Mets' favor in this series. So, beside from the ump, who really frustrated me in that Game 4 last night, who just was anything but consistent, got to give him credit. At least he was
6 inches off the plate was a strike. That was interesting.
Yeah, I know. And ESPN's broadcast, fantastic. Cue the sarcasm. But what I will say is that there were definitely highlights out of this West Coast trip, not only going 7-3, but I want to share with you guys my my opinion, the top 5 performers, and it shouldn't shock anyone, but it starts with Brandon Nimmo. I mean, Nimmo was nothing short of fantastic this entire road trip, basically the entire start to the season thus far, a 442 average the past 10 games out west, including 2 home runs and 8 RBIs, and not that doesn't include making highlight reel catches in center. What felt like an almost daily basis is what we're seeing from him. Truly one of the best center fielders in the game right now. And then when you look at power, it's of course Alonso, 4 bombs, it's just under 300 average, 11 RBIs for him. And then on the pitching side, I don't really have any starters to highlight outside from Joey Fuego doing absolutely phenomenal things that I'll talk a little bit more shortly. But bullpen, I mean, Jeff Brigham, I really want to highlight. I talked about him on my post-game show yesterday. The guy gets called up. He now has 4 scoreless, perfect innings to start his Mets career, including 4 strikeouts yesterday in 2 innings. Very, very sharp stuff from Brigham, including that beautiful sweeping slider. I'm really, really liking what I'm seeing from him. Brooks Raley, again, didn't have a sharp start to the year. However, 5.1 scoreless innings, very solid out west there for the Mets when called upon. And then Jimmy Yacobonis that we talked about in our last episode, he gave up 1 run over 3.2. But, I mean, to come in that situation when you had no clue until last minute that Max was going to be thrown out and to eat those innings, strike out Freeman, as you highlight so well, Joe, our last pod. I mean, you can't ask for much more. So those are the guys that really stood out to me over what was a nice stretch of games for the Mets in which they went 7-3. But now let's get into our first edition of Minutemen. So guys, we're going to be speed rounding this, okay? I'm sure many of you guys have seen stuff like this before, people watching live or on replay, but I'm going to go through the rotation, and Rec and Joe, you guys are going to go back and forth, sharing one word to describe each starter currently in the rotation, and our goal is to get this in under a minute, and then I'm going to try to do it, and if I'm the one who botches it, then blame me. But, all right, guys, you ready?
Let's do it.
All right, let's get into it. All right, starting with our first starter, Max Scherzer.
Sticky.
Inconsistent.
Okay.
Not the usual with Max Scherzer.
That's true.
Senga.
Wild.
Stud. I love him. I do. I love him.
Okay. David Peterson.
Flat. Stuff's not moving like it usually does.
Not great. His location isn't there. That slider's usually much, much better. Even his 4-seam doesn't seem like it has the same life right now. He's
usually cuts
struggling.
and sinks too. Like it's just it's flat.
Yeah.
Tyler McGill.
Laborious. He's been laboring out there his last 2 starts.
You thought about that one. That's a good one. I like that.
He had that written down since 7 a.m.
Laborious. Okay. I got to come up with one for that. I got to come up with a new one for that. Yeah, I don't have anything. I can't top it. Laborious is too good.
Okay. All right. And then we'll just combine the two for the sake of them both coming in last minute. Buto, Lucchesi.
I'm just going to do Lucchesi.
Okay.
Fangul, as in he took every hitter on the Giants lineup and said, "Va Fangul, I'm Joey Lucchesi, sit the fuck down."
I mean, superb, fantabulous, great, wonderful. I don't know, magnificent. They've been awesome. I mean, I did not expect the Mets to have that much depth from their starting rotation, at least to come up and perform well in spot starts. They needed that, and they're going to need that. It looks like for the foreseeable future.
Okay, so for me, Max, Innocent, Senga,
Innocent. Okay,
shaky.
All right, I get it. Yeah, sorry, took me
Peterson,
a second.
a wash. I'm just not liking what I'm seeing from David right now at all. McGill, decent, not great. Not
you
terrible.
can't top laborious.
Decent.
Just let it. Just don't even try.
You're right.
It's like I didn't even try. I said I'm.
Buto, pleasant surprise, and Lucchesi, an absolute stud. I mean, Joey Fuego. And I think that's a perfect segue now into talking about this briefly, because we saw David Peterson over this West Coast trip. I mean, past 2 starts. Let's look at the numbers. And Joe, I want to really know more of your thoughts on this and how basically what the Mets should do going forward with the lefty spot once Justin Verlander returns, and Max will return before him, obviously, for the Braves series. But there's only going to be room for one between, himself and Peterson, with McGill staying in the rotation, I would assume. We're still waiting on Cookie's word, but we'll find out more about that probably after the National Series or in between. But Peterson, 11 innings pitched out west, 14 hits, 13 earned runs, 5 home runs allowed, and the bulk of those were all to lefties for the most part, which
Freeman
is
and Muncy, right?
Freeman, Muncy. It was not pretty at all. And then you look at Joey Fuego and his first start in almost 2 effing years, 7 shutty, 4 hits allowed, no earned runs, 9 strikeouts for Joey Lucchesi in his long
Over-under was 4.5 that night.
I know. Can you imagine hammering that? Oh my
Better
God.
than Chris Sale, that's for sure.
Yeah, that is for sure. So, Joe, I want to start with you. How do you feel about these respective lefties, and which one do you think would honestly be best to roll with when it is all said and done?
You can't make a decision yet. We've still got about 2 weeks. You can't go based off of one start and say Lucchesi deserves the rotation gig. Look, Peterson's given us a lot the past couple of years. This year, he's off to a horrific start. That said, plenty of pitchers have gone on to have a really bad month of April and have a pretty good, respectable season. So, give them each a couple turns through again before you make a decision. Lucchesi, that start in San Francisco, you mentioned, he hadn't pitched in the bigs in like 2 years. A lot of adrenaline was pumping.
His family was in attendance, which he's actually normally not okay with. He said he usually gets nervous and he tells him no because it's been so long. He said yes.
So can he come out now against the Nationals? I think he's slated for Game 3 against Washington. And
against
can
Trevor
he come out
Williams.
Right. Now, can he come out and do that again? Washington, you look at their record, they don't look like a good team, but they just beat up on Cleveland and Minnesota pretty damn good the last week or so. They put the ball in play. The Mets and Nationals strike out the least of all 30 teams in the MLB. So can Lucchesi go out there and be dominant again against the Nationals? And then after that, against who would the Mets have? Detroit after Atlanta.
Detroit.
Two bad opponents record-wise, but that Nationals lineup's nothing to scoff at. Can Lucchesi keep it going? If he turns in 2 starts that are anywhere near what he did in San Francisco, yes, I'd either move Peterson to the bullpen or option him down to AAA. But you got to watch the next 2 starts for each of these guys before you make a decision. I know Peterson's off to a rocky start, but you can't decide just yet.
Fair. Rec?
I like Peterson's body of work over the last couple of years. I'm not going to say that I'm going to give anybody the spot yet. I agree with Joe there. It's going to take a lot more from Lucchesi for me to even consider it. That said, Peterson's got to show something too. I mentioned it earlier. 4-seam doesn't look the same. Slider doesn't look the same. Nothing does. But really, to me, it's all about that slider. That's usually like a plus pitch for him. That's what he goes to. That's how he gets out. It's right-handed, left-handed. It doesn't matter. Uses that 4-seam kind of off of that, and then might sink it into a lefty or away to a righty to get a ground ball, change up, whatever. Doesn't really use it that much, but I just really think that there's more in there. We know that, and it's just going to take some adjustment. And I'm willing to give him a few starts to figure that out, and then from there we'll kind of see where it goes. But I think that his ceiling to me is still far higher than Lucchesi's. Lucchesi's coming at you with 2 pitches. He's got a fastball. He's got a curveball, slider, curve, whatever the hell you want to call it. I don't understand calling him Joey Fuego. The dude throws 91. Like, it's not. I don't know.
I don't think it has to with speed. It's a nickname he's had growing up.
I don't see like plus stuff in him. I do out of Peterson sometimes. So to me, it's very much let's kind of just see what happens here because not anybody can go out there and throw 7 shutty innings in the big leagues, but it's one game. It's one game. And I need to see a lot more.
Yeah, those are all.
If you look at the expected numbers too, by the way, Lucchesi very much in line with some of his expected numbers throughout his career yesterday, and actually his hard hit numbers were crazy. Peterson's hard hit numbers are really low, and some of his expected numbers are just on par with what he's done the last 2 years. So to me, it's almost a little bit fluky what we're seeing out of Peterson. Again, he has left some balls up. He has left some balls over the plate that he normally doesn't. That said, he's not getting like crushed all over the ballpark the way that the numbers you might think that he is.
No, but to me, it's like he's struggling with his command immensely. And we talked about this last episode, the difference between control and command. He can't spot his slider. And so, he's walking guys, but when he does throw strikes, it's like he's not hitting his spots. He's just leaving them pretty much down the middle. Like Muncy took that pitch.
Yeah, hanging right down the dick, literally.
Yep. Yeah. So, Peterson right now has no command. It looks like he's got no confidence, when he's confident, I mean, he showed us last year, like he'd run through the Braves lineup, a time or two through. He typically struggled third time around, but he could run through the Braves lineup 2 times. When he's confident, Peterson can, I genuinely believe, face any batter in the bigs.
By the way, speaking of the Braves, and I don't know if it's still true, but Spencer Strider, perfect through 5.
Oh, okay.
It is still true.
I have
perfect
him
through
on
5.
my So Rare MLB team for this.
And the Blue Jays are up 4-2.
4-2.
Oh, baby.
Here, you guys both shared really great points, and I understand where both of you guys are coming from on the DP Lucchesi very early and very premature debate. And the reason why I wanted to highlight it again is because of how inconsistent this rotation has been, where it's like we got one sign of life that was Lucchesi. It's like, okay, like, is this something that we're going to ride with? And to your point, especially when you look at Peterson, he hasn't been locating well. And this is something where I hope it's just a little tweak, a fine tune in his arsenal that he's able to do for next time he's back out there. And we can see the Peterson of just even last year. I mean, he was utilized as a starter many times and then as a reliever, especially as a starter against lesser opponents a lot of the times, albeit he came out and he really did well. And that slider is his pitch. So when he doesn't have that locating, that's a huge, huge problem that he's faced that we saw at West. And Lucchesi, this is an interesting topic because none of us expected Lucchesi to even get a start this year. And here he is, of course, starting in the month of April, no less. And, the adrenaline was certainly there. And you're facing a Giants lineup that, aside from Pearson, have been absolutely anemic against left-handed pitching. So that's another thing to keep in mind. They just didn't have the playbook as well. So I think it was a combination of adrenaline. Lucchesi, again, not taking away from his start because he was absolutely shoving. He looked phenomenal. But I think it was kind of a perfect storm for Lucchesi to end up in its at least a similar realm of what he ended up with, but then giving him props because he looked great with those 9 strikeouts. So to what you guys are saying, I agree. Give them a couple more starts to see what we have there. But this is something that now it's a good problem to have if you're the Mets because they haven't had consistent pitching to start the year. But once Max is back for that Braves series and then JV back, and it's funny how JV's going to make his debut in Detroit most likely to begin his Mets tenure, no less. But once those guys are at the helm, at the head of the rotation, then we're going to really have a good question and see what happens a couple weeks from now. Joe, anything you want to add to that?
Wander Franco just made the David Wright play, but even better because he went way further down the line. Foul territory, like almost the warning track in the outfield. And he kind of like overran it, but then barehanded it with his right as he was reaching with his glove hand. Sick play. I
got an alert from the MLB app about that.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Okay. I'll make sure to check it out.
Got to check that out. You got 3 minutes left. Devils, Rangers, 1-0. Good guys.
Save it. Save it.
Save it.
How does a guy from Long Island end up being a Devils fan? Like,
thank you. You gotta be quite a schmuck going through the line there.
I was never into hockey, and then my parents split. Met my stepdad. He got me into it, and he was a Devils fan. And he's from Brooklyn, mind. He's not from New Jersey, but he.
Fuck.
I followed his lead. He got me into it.
That's actually really funny. I have the exact same story as to how I became a Rangers fan.
Stepdad?
Stepdad. My stepdad came into my life in 92 or 92, I think.
Oh, perfect timing.
And sure enough,
oh my God.
Yeah, those next couple years were amazing. The playoff series were awesome. And then, of course, 94. It was awesome.
Well, the funny thing is he got me into hockey. So he came into my life probably like 2007. But I got into hockey when I was in middle school. So like 2010. Mm-hmm. And what was it? The 2012 Stanley Cup was Devils Kings. My birthday's in June. He took me for my birthday. So he got me into hockey. My dad got me into the Mets. So my dad got me into a life of suffering.
It's hilarious that you say how. So would you say like 2012 was like the first year where you were really immersed in Devils fandom?
Second. I know. Okay. It's similar to you with 2015 with the Mets.
Well, not only that, but with hockey, because the Rangers, the first year I watched them every single game of the season was when they lost in the Eastern Conference Final to the Devils that year. So that's actually pretty bizarre,
Henrique off the crossbar, baby. I'll never forget it.
No, stop it. And it wasn't off the crossbar. He poked it in. There was a scrum going on. I hate him so much still. I need that. I have a sour taste in my mouth. I don't have a good taste in my mouth the way I usually do, Joe. I got a sour one.
Speaking of tastes in our mouths, Jimmy Yacobonis getting the start tomorrow?
That's a good question.
It's undecided. Is he still on the roster? He wasn't sent down.
Yeah. He's still on the roster. So I saw a bunch of people over social media talking about Buto, but to what you were saying earlier, Joe, off air, I don't know if he's available given the rule, right? Does he have to wait those 15 days? Like, what's the status on
I think unless there's an injury, which there wasn't because Scherzer was suspended. I think unless there's an injury, if you're sent down, you have to stay down for 15 days.
Is it 15 or 10? Used to be 10. It used to be 10. I don't know if it's 15 now. It used to be 10.
Even if it's 10, I don't think he'd be able to come back up, right? He pitched on Sunday in Oakland. That wouldn't be 10 days to Tuesday.
Nope.
So I think it's going to be Yacobonis. Nothing official, obviously. But it just makes sense. If there is a time where we really need Kodai Senga to bear down and give us some innings, it's Wednesday. You're playing a bad Nationals team. Go 7+. And we got the Braves coming into town for 4 over the weekend, Friday to Monday. We need innings out of Senga because it's probably going to be a bullpen game Tuesday. Thursday, you can't really count on Lucchesi to go 7 again. We really need 7 from Senga.
Okay.
I'm all for it. Let's go.
Yeah, you and your fantasy team, Mr. Quality. How many times he screwed you out of a quality start because he went like 5 1/3, 5 2/3?
Been a couple times already.
6 innings and 4 runs.
Yeah.
Aha, my assumption was correct. Jose Buto was never sent down.
Wait, what? I thought he was.
No, I'm looking through the transactions right now, and I do not see Buto sent down. You might be thinking of Denny Reyes.
Then why wouldn't he be on the? Why wouldn't Buto be slated as a starter? And
maybe the Mets are still. Maybe the Mets are still debating. No, it's a fair question, but because he's not normally slotted in the rotation. So.
No, but I mean, I feel like he'd be the clear as day choice.
Like, no, I'm looking at it.
Not like Brooks Raley is going to be the opener.
I'm looking at it right now because John Curtis was sent down a couple days ago. That was
he?
Yeah. Oh, see, yep. Yeah, you're not. Yeah, okay. John Curtis.
I don't like Curtis. I just think Curtis does not have. Wasn't he? Wait, when we got Curtis, was he? Oh God, I'm totally blanking on the name of the draft. Rule 5, where the guy's got to be.
No. The Mets got John Curtis to start. Not this past offseason, but the year before that, because he had Tommy John, so they were going to take care of him for the year when he was rehabbing, and now he's healthy. I like John
Signed
Curtis.
A 2-year deal.
Yeah,
Signed a 2-year deal.
I know he hasn't had the sharpest start to his Mets tenure, but I do expect him to eat some innings for the Mets this year. So I don't think he's going to be sent down their lawn, personally.
Yeah, I'm not really a fan of him. I want to see that kid we got.
Steven Ridings.
From the Yanks? Oh, didn't we rule? Was it Ridings or was it Zach Green? Who was the
Green is back with the Yanks. Ridings.
Yeah, Green's gone.
But Ridings is still rehabbing. Like he's not
Green,
healthy.
He'd make the. Okay, I thought he was hurt. I didn't realize that we gave him back.
No, last couple of days of camp, I think we gave him back, right?
Yeah, he had 1 or 2 bad spring outings.
So many of these guys blend into me. So many of these back, the 26th man on the roster reliever types, just like. So what's the deal with Ridings? Is he injured?
Yeah, he's still been rehabbing. He's not 100% yet.
He's the 6'7" guy, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
the redhead.
And he's on his way back. I think he's gonna make a rehab appearance soon.
Yes.
I
think he's getting close. He had a little bit of setbacks in spring and leading into the year, but now we're seeing more positive signs according to Buck. Because he talked about him the other day, I'm pretty sure. But yeah, so Jose Buto's with the team, so I'd imagine Buto is going to start tomorrow. And again, similar to the A's, there's no better team that I want to see him face. Not to down the Nats because they have been playing good baseball the past week, so I'm not gonna write.
I don't feel great about this series. I got to be completely honest. I'm not going into this series like we're in expectations to sweep. My expectation.
The expectations should still be absolutely to sweep.
Hey, T. I have Jose Buto's not on the active roster. If you go on MLB.com, he's not on the active roster.
By the way, is it true that with Scherzer being suspended, look at us, we're like asking each other questions. We're the so-called experts. We're running with a 25-man roster, right? When a guy is suspended, is that true?
Correct.
Yes.
Correct.
Yeah.
So we're down a man to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's kind of bullshit.
If you look at the Mets transactions over the past,
I love that.
Wait, so have the Padres been playing with 25 the whole time Tatis has been out?
Oh shit! Wait, I found it. My bad.
That might be under different circumstance because it's not like
it's like an 80 gamer.
Yeah.
Oh.
I'm not 100% though.
I'm wrong, by the way. My apologies, guys. Buto was sent down on the 17th. The only reason why I missed it is because I'm looking through the transactions and the names are all bold except for his, for whatever reason. He's the only
what was the corresponding move for the Buto send down? Was that for Lucchesi or?
No, it was Edwin Uceda who they did it actually like a trade with the Pirates for recently. Reliever. He pitched yesterday in the blowout game against San Fran.
I forgot about that guy. It makes sense.
Yeah. So my apologies for sounding like an ass the past 5 minutes.
I'm thinking it's Yacobonis tomorrow for like 3 innings, and then it's just a total bullpen game.
Yeah. The only thing that's less than ideal about that is basically the rest of the week, because you have your pitch. You don't know how deep your guys are going to go. Like, hopefully Senga has a nice.
That's why I said we need like 7 out of Senga.
But not even that. Then when we look at the Braves series, is you're going to have Peterson, McGill in there. Max, I think, is pitching that Monday, if that's May 1st. And then right now there is an open slot for what would be a bullpen game, or it could be Buto because he could be called back up by then. But yeah, not
Wait, when? Because Max coming back would get rid of the need for Buto or bullpen.
Well, no, because Max isn't coming back until May 1st, and how the rotation is slotted, it's like McGill, Peterson, but there's an open slot there. I sometime over that weekend that is unresolved.
Isn't it Monday? Isn't Monday like? Oh wait, no. The bullpen game. You're right, but I think that the day off today would push them all up. Would alleviate that problem.
Okay.
Correct.
All right.
Yeah.
Either way, I'm not excited like that. The rotation heading into that Braves series, you know.
I'm a little freaking nervous about it.
Yeah.
I mean, the Nationals can hit. That's one thing, they don't pitch well, but they can hit. And we also, the other thing that I didn't love is pitching matchups. We've got Senga, which should be on paper, our best chance to win, going up against Mackenzie Gore. Their best.
Gore is going to carve this team up. I feel I'm very unfortunate about saying that, but I think there's a very good chance it happens.
We got to hope that Gore, because he's struggled a bit with longevity, we got to hope we get him out of there early and just attack that bullpen.
Yep.
Even, by the way, Josiah Gray, awful first start of the year. I think he was their opening day starter. Been really good since opening day. Can't get a win.
He's been much better. No, he can't get a win. He doesn't strike many out, but he's been pretty good.
Yeah, just gets no run support. Last year, there was a stretch where his K-prop was coming in at like 4.5, and he was consistently going for like 6 or 7. I was hitting him for a while. But I like Josiah Gray. He's prone to getting shelled, but then he'll bounce back and he'll have like.
He's prone to giving up a homer. He gives up homers, but if he doesn't walk anybody, he can
limit the damage for sure.
Yep.
You know who I like even more, and I despise him at the same time because he usually does well against the Mets in his young career? Keibert Ruiz. I like him quite a bit as part of that deal, along with Josiah when the Mad Max Turner deal happened a couple years ago. He's a nice young piece for them.
I forget that's where Josiah came from. He was a Dodger.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
But, pitching matchups are going to be key this series. More than anything, just got to hope that these starters can go fairly deep for the Mets, especially should it be a bullpen game like we've been discussing the past 5-10 minutes now. It's definitely going to be interesting to follow. Hopefully this Mets team can step up and do what we expect them to do. At minimum, win the series. If you can sweep, fantastic. But, anything less than winning the series is certainly not ideal. Because at the end of the day, the Nats are still the Nats, and the Mets are the Mets. You got to take advantage.
Right. Last question for me on this Nats series. Trevor Williams, we haven't talked about that really yet. Maybe Wardy, you might have mentioned it quickly.
Yes.
He's coming back, pitching Thursday at Citi Field. It's his return. As a catcher, when you have a guy who's been on the team for a couple of years, go to another team, come back, what do you think Tomas Nido is telling the lineup going into third? How does that work? Obviously the guy in and out. So how does that work when a guy comes back? His tendencies. What kind of information is a catcher sharing with the lineup?
Hopefully a lot of these guys know him pretty well because they were around him last year too. Yep. But realistically, I let guys come to me. I don't go up to everybody and just offer a bunch of information because some guys don't want that. So to me, it's I'll give something. If we're around the cage, if we're talking about it, we'll just give a nugget or two. But I'll wait for guys to really come to me to ask anything other than that specific. What does he like to do in this situation? Where does he go? What is he confident with? I know, at least from my perspective, I watched Trevor a little bit over the last couple of years, but having faced him, a few years ago, I remember that more than anything else. He was not afraid. He was not afraid to come in. He was not afraid to do whatever. He just would mix it up. He was with Pittsburgh when Glasnow and Tyone and all those guys, Chad Kuhl, all these big righties were coming. What's that?
Was Cole still there? Sorry to cut you off.
I'm talking about in AAA. So they all came up together in AAA. and they were all on the same AAA rotation. They were ridiculous. I thought Trevor Williams was the best. At the time, he was throwing 94, 96. Run and sink in on your hands, cutters away, curveball, slider, at a changeup, would throw it into righties. Like, he would do anything to you. He didn't care. And to me, that was tougher to have an at bat against than a guy that, yeah, he's throwing 98 with a hammer, but it was one or two pitches. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
I can figure that out. I can just sit on one and hope I square one up. But this guy was nasty. Obviously his stuff has diminished greatly now that he's more like 89, 91. It's a little bit different.
He got it up at times with the Mets to 94 last year. I was impressed.
Did he?
Yeah. Not often, but I mean, he could dial it up.
I mean, we all get it up sometimes, so it's good.
I can make a joke right now, Rec, but I'm praying for you, Rec. Praying for you.
Thanks, buddy. Appreciate that.
Final thing.
But with Williams, though, last thing, like,
okay,
how many pitches does the guy throw? Because to me, that's the reason he's got a job in the bigs. Like, you're talking, his average velo is definitely like 91,
Yep.
but it's the changeup, the cutter, the slider. Like, he's just all over the place. Is that? Yeah, I mean, you kind of alluded to it. Is that more difficult to prep for than a guy who's throwing 98 with a hammer?
Yeah, I mean, look, it's different when, this stuff is disgusting. Like Glasnow has become, when he's healthy.
When he's on the field.
When he's healthy, yeah. But yeah, I mean, like, I can remember coming up and facing prospects, and there were guys who had two pitches that it was like, why is this guy such a huge prospect? Like, it's great that they have these dominant two pitches, but as a hitter, it was like, I'm going to sit on one. And when one's a big curveball, like, they blend sometimes a little, but realistically, like, if he's going to throw the curveball for a strike, you're going to see it. And if he's not, it's just a matter of letting it get deep and just trying to go the other way with it. So I'm not really worried about him. It's those guys that can mix it up, and you have no idea what's going to come out of their hand. And, some of those guys may be pretty good at, hiding the spin on the baseball or whatever, so that it's just a little bit more difficult for you to figure it out as it's coming in. And that's really tough. That's when you end up not necessarily sitting on pitches, but sitting on zones or sitting on speeds or whatever it may be. And then you're playing a big guessing game with that.
Yeah, and I think something that was really paramount to his success last year, and maybe he picked this up from Scherzer, maybe he didn't, but he was really willing to throw that changeup righty on righty.
Yes,
and it's a tough thing to do.
No, that's what I say. He did that even back in AAA back then. I mean,
really? So that's
it was nasty, man.
Max does it, which many people don't do it. Like, Max is a master at it.
Yep, it's the only time Max got me out. Right on right changeup.
Right, you had some good numbers.
You're his father. Let's not forget that. So,
I mean, in all fairness, I faced him twice in high A, and I think I had 2 or 3 plate appearances in the big leagues, 1 or 2 of which were walks. But yes, he got me out on a changeup in spring training. That's it. It's the only time he got me out.
By the way, Bobby G with the line of the night in the chat.
Oh my God! Actually, I got to read it off to all you guys if you're watching this on replay. Bobby G, at my age, I'm envious of a stiff wind. Oh, just rolls off.
All your real estate needs in Connecticut, folks. Hit up Bobby G. He's the best.
Oh, Bobby, by the way, yeah, I got your contact information from Joe. I'm gonna reach out to you. I haven't yet. I apologize.
And isn't it? It's Monday night, Rec, isn't it?
It is trash night.
Oh, baby.
Take out the trash.
It's garbage night, baby.
Yeah.
Take out the
get
trash.
used to hearing the line, taking out the trash. It will be a recurring thing.
Segment.
Crippling to the curb.
There you go. Oh.
Was that the alarm?
That's the alarm.
That was my trash alarm. That was my trash alarm.
Joe, wow. Beautiful
Take
timing.
the trash out.
Holy moly. All right, final thing I want to share, and then we'll get out of here. Trevor Williams, I'm inserting him already as a soon-to-be New York Met again. I think the Mets will certainly look at him at the trade deadline, and I hope it happens. Give me Trev Dog back. Come on.
I don't think the Nationals do it.
The Nats will. There's no chance in hell the Nats are petty enough to not even trade a Trevor Williams type to the Mets. Come on.
But the only reason I say it's not going to happen is because it's not
2-year deal.
If the Nats were going to get like a big prospect for him, sure, but that's not going to happen. So why would they trade him in division? They can find something from someone else that they will like just as much.
Isn't it like a 2-year deal?
Honestly, I don't even see it happening anyway. I don't even see the Mets being interested in it.
No,
I
think the Mets would have. You think the Mets wouldn't have interest in an innings eater like Williams again? Should he have a strong
come July 31st? No, like if that's going to happen now, maybe, but that's not going to happen now. So
the Nats would want a guy like Dom Hamel. for Trevor Williams, and like the Mets are going to laugh at that.
You might be right.
As they should.
I just want Trev Dog back. I miss him. I really do. He was
I wanted him to
you're
sign
just
last year.
You're just thinking a little bit too much into it. He's not coming back.
Okay. All right. Well, guys, with that being said, that's going to do it for the show. I want to thank you all so much for watching live or on replay. We'll be back at it after the National Series to then preview the biggest series of the year thus far for the Metropolitans against the Atlanta Braves. So stay tuned for that one. Until then, have a great rest of your night, day, evening, whenever you're watching this. That is Anthony Recker. Make sure to check him out on all socials. Also, of course, on MLB Network. That is Joe Sorrell. Make sure to check him out on his weekly Sorrell Sports Talk podcast and on his socials. You guys know where to find me, Wardy, here on YouTube and, of course, socials. Make sure to drop that like and subscribe button. Comments down below for people on replay. We'll talk to you again real soon.
Guys, before we get off,
yeah.
Also check out the Atlanta Braves right now because Spencer
Perfect.
Strider's still perfect through 6.
Spencer Strider's throwing a perfect game through 6 innings.
And for once, he's got a low pitch count.
Oh,
6
my
innings,
God.
6 innings, 10 Ks, 69 pitches. Dude is rolling through the Marlins.
Sure.
Over-under was 9.5, so he's gone for 9 in his first 4 starts. He's already at the over.
Surely.
I got him minus 125 to get the win because it was way better odds than Braves money line minus 275.
Mhm.
He's gonna get the win. I just hope he doesn't get the perfect game.
Surely Rex didn't say that the
Wow.
Marlins were going to win tonight.
What? Come on, Spencer Strider.
He's not getting it. No.
It's a perfect game. There's been
Dude with
23 in the
cornstarch and
history
chamomile
of
tea and
baseball.
tampons. You think I'm rooting for him?
Yeah.
I don't care.
No.
I root for
Because
history.
you were
A perfect
a
game.
big leaguer and you're a good guy.
Yeah.
It's a perfect game.
No, I don't want Atlanta to get a perfect game.
No.
Fuck that.
No. Well, for people on replay, Braves fans are going to eat this up for breakfast if he gets the
If
perfect
he
game.
does get a perfect game, they're gonna be like, "Hey Joe, suck my dick."
To which Joe will say, yes,
Leave
that
this
left a good
taste in
taste
your
in my
mouth.
I like the taste. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, guys, we're out of here.
No, that's your own fault.